Welcome to the Rising Tide Podcast, live from the Barn Studio. Got DJ in the house. What's up, DJ?
What's up, brother?
Been a big week for the Barn.
Yep.
A lot of news, a lot of action. I want to thank all our listeners and all of our followers. And we got a special guest in the studio tonight. Longtime friend, podcasting OG, Danny. Do you go by Dan now or Danimal?
I'll go by any of those. I'll answer to any of them.
I know him as Danny. I'm going to call him Danny. Danny King.
Works for me.
From It's Just Two Movies podcast, local podcast here in the area, but a longtime friend and former co-host of the Chris Sable Power Hour, where we kind of cut our teeth in podcasting. Welcome to the studio, Danny.
Yeah. Hey, nice to be here.
Oh, hold up.
He does that
Soundboard. There we go. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm happy to be here in the beautiful Mineral area.
Yeah, and we've been planning on
home of methamphetamines.
not here.
No, not here.
Clearly, no meth on it. But yeah, welcome to the studio, man. We've been wanting to do this for a while. Been talking about this for maybe even a couple months now.
Yeah.
And just, your schedule and our schedule hasn't worked out, but we are excited to finally have you in the studio. I think about those old days, because we've talked about before, especially on the Rising Tide podcast, of kind of where I started getting into podcasting. Mm-hmm. And it was with the Chris Sable Power Hour, which was a local podcast. We had a lot of fun back then.
Yeah, we were having a good time. And
we recorded at your house some. We kind of recorded anywhere we could.
Yeah, made some funny stuff. Some funny stuff out there.
I know when I go back and listen to it, I'm like, oh gosh, but
yeah, it might be a little cringy.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun, and here in the last year or so, and I know you've been doing yours a little bit too. We just said, hey, let's get kind of bored and like, hey, let's do something.
Yeah, sure.
Here we are.
We started doing ours in November of 2020, and maybe we just have a lot of fun making the show, just hanging out and having drinks and talking about cinema for a couple hours, and then maybe just you get something that's just so bad you can just absolutely shit on it and throw rocks at it for an hour.
Yeah.
That's fun too, and then we'll talk about other stuff. We also have a new podcast. It's really just an extension of the thing that we already do. We do a movie news thing called the Hollywood Thumb, which is a reference to our rating system on the other podcast. But it is a 20-minute just movie news, brief to the point, trailers and that sort of thing. I'm trying to think of the last thing that we covered here. We had, here we go. Last week, I think we did Super Mario Brothers trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Wakanda Forever. We talked about Spawn, Rings of Power.
That's exactly what I did, too.
House of the Dragon. Now You See Me 3. They're making another one of those where...
oh, is that the Magic movie?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're making another one of those. Tarzan. There's another Tarzan coming out. There's Glass Onion News, Amsterdam, Avatar 4, Oregon Trail, Violent Night, and Triple R.
Oregon Trail based on the video game?
Yeah, yep.
Or would you call it a video game? The game?
The movie is going to be...
Jeez, that's why you ain't wearing the headphones.
That's great. That's good. That's a good point. The new show, we just keep it as brief as we can. Just a short, quick punch in. Yeah. It's doing pretty well. We just kind of want to diversify what we do a little bit, but we have fun doing it. So we'll do the news first, and then do the regular show and have some drinks.
And we're a follower of your stuff. I've always been a fan of your comedic style, I guess. Your sort of sense of humor. We always, like I said, we always used to have a lot of fun back in the day, and we appreciate your support too. You do all the follows and the likes and everything. So, that's why we wanted to have you on, because, part of the Rising Tide podcast is supporting other podcasts, because we're fans too. We were talking before we went on air, is like, I listen to podcasts all the time.
Yeah, same. I'm an avid listener, all day.
Will you tell us about the actual premise of It's Just Two Movies?
So it's suppose what's your favorite movie?
Just right now, Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. Okay. Suppose I hadn't seen it. I haven't. It's excellent. But suppose I hadn't, and I just wasn't going to get around to it. You insisted that I watch it, but I just wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So in this instance, I have to watch it. Now it's homework. I got to watch it. We come over, we hang out, and we talk about it. And then we just get drunk and watch something worse, like Wing Commander comes to mind.
Right.
Really, really bad.
Like I haven't heard of.
Yeah, it's terrible.
With a similar theme, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Thematically, you could use just about anything to connect them. You could just do a movie where Tom Cruise is a pilot, which there are aplenty. Or Tom Cruise in an airplane happens. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Yeah, could be anything else involving similar characters. Whatever you want to use. Sometimes we'll do. We recently did a pairing that was like possession films. So some of them can be very specific. And I think some of the better ones is when somebody will know what bad movie they want to do, and then they'll have to pick a good movie to go with it.
Okay.
So it fits the show thematically.
Yeah.
But those are some of the funner watches.
I don't know if it was on your story the other day. Are you watching like a different scary movie every day this month, or
not deliberately? Not deliberately, but I might have a running. I might be in the running for that still. I don't know.
I think I've seen that. He was just watching something different every day with horror movies and stuff. And I've been trying to get on that with Third Eye Review. So, people like you with your platform and stuff, it does like give people motivation like me and other movie platforms. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. We recently covered Get Out on the podcast.
Yep.
And that was a really good one. We almost did the movie Get In to go with it.
Oh, nice.
Which is it's like a French horror film about home invasion. So kind of almost the same-ish.
I was thinking,
you know what I mean?
I was thinking maybe porn or something. Like, get in this.
Right. But evidently it's not bad. We looked it up and it looks like it's just a fine movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do that. We're just going to go back in and talk about this other movie that was just okay.
Right.
I want to do that. I want something that's terrible or so bad it's just absolute money.
Man, I'm impressed by your commitment to it, because I think me and DJ even talked about you're putting in, most movies are 2 hours, right? And you're watching 2.
The majority of the good ones are, honestly, for the show, unless it's a bad movie we really want to check out, we try to keep it around like an hour 20 run time. So it's like whoever will get over to my place at like 6 o'clock, we throw the movie on, have a couple slices of pizza, pause it, a little small talk, or putting dishes away and shit, and then be like, all right, have a beer and fucking get back to it. We finish watching the movie, have a couple of drinks, laugh, and then we go make the show. It's time consuming to make, unless you could do it in 2 hours. You could do it in 2 hours if everybody watched the movie as both movies before coming, but I don't know that it would have. I don't know that the discussion would be as enriching, I don't think. But we'll watch it, and then we make the rest of the show first, so that's the last thing we do. But relatively sauced by that time. And, and then we just we do a little kind of what have you been talking about sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I love the way I'll still be surprised by things. Somebody will come on and recommend a film, and maybe I just haven't seen it for whatever reason. Maybe it's an old one I just never got around to that I wanted to see, or something I had on a list somewhere that I was never going to fucking get to because so much shit gets made now. But it's nice to have some of those pleasant surprises in there. Even some of the bad movies that we pick on accident. We watched one, man, I don't recall the title yet. I think it's Rest Stop. Might be called Rest Stop. And it's just a schlocky looking old horror film. And the premise for it is actually, while you're watching it, you'd be like, oh, like it's gruesome and terrifying. And I think it's it might be like from 83. Oh, it's rough, man. Looks really great. I mean, for an older film like that, people that really, really pour themselves into their craft, it's incredible what you can pull off.
Do you like to listen to movie podcasts, or what kind of podcasts?
I listen to one, but it's specifically about comic book movies.
Got you.
It's called The Weekly Planet. It's a couple of guys from Australia. They've had a very successful run of it, and it's a good show. Good show, funny guys, good banter, comedy's good. They talk about things I don't have anybody else to talk about with. So,
as a listener, you like long podcasts, but as a host ever of a podcast, do you feel like you might like having long conversations, but do you ever like think like, I might need to cut this down so people can be more in tune to the conversation? Or do you just just go with the flow of what you got going?
Some of them are shorter. Through the summer, we call it summer break, and we just shorten, everything's cut in half.
Got you.
So the show's like an hour, maybe hour 15 minutes. We just condense it all. I'll usually record 3 or 4 episodes over a weekend if I can get away with it, and then that's it because it's summertime, I got other shit to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that deliberately once a year for 8 weeks, I think. And then a lot of our episodes just will be shorter as time's gone on. Some movies, there's just not much to say about them. So
feel like when you're recording, you're never really looking at the time of things. So I just didn't know how, from an editing standpoint, or when you're putting things out, how I'm thinking, like, do you put yourself, like, how you might put yourself in a listener's standpoint, like, oh, they might want it to be 45 minutes, but you're just like, man, it's a good episode. I'm putting it out 2 hours. So I just had that question in mind.
Yeah, and if we don't, like, we just interviewed Kevin Nealon, right? So his publicist made it clear that, hey,
I do know. Big cockswing there. Hey, listen here, motherfucker.
But, his publicist made it very clear you have 15 minutes. So I mean, we even have a timer that will start here because we want to be respectful of their time. And we want to keep those relationships hopefully ongoing and good. But yeah, I'm with you. I never put anything on a clock other than when we have to. Just kind of let it naturally go, and when it's wrap up time, you can just kind of feel it, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Danny, welcome to the barn, buddy. We're going to go to commercial right now. We're going to hear a commercial for It's Just Two Movies at this break right here, and we're going to be back after this.
Right after I make it. All right, we all know the struggle. You ask your friend to watch a movie, they won't watch it. For whatever reason, it's ridiculous, it's an amazing movie, they're going to love it, but they just won't watch it. My name's Daniel King. I host a podcast called It's Just Two Movies. Every week we try to pick one good movie and then another movie that's got something in common with it that's so bad it's good. Sometimes we hit the mark, sometimes the bad movie is just bad. But we'll sort through them all for you, and we'll have some drinks and laughs along the way. We also pepper in a little improv comedy just because we have fun doing it. Also, no shortage of dick and fart jokes here, so if that's not your crowd, maybe it wasn't meant to be. Come check us out anywhere podcasts are found, Spotify, Apple Music, Rhapsody, iTunes, where the places. Or check us out on social networks at It's Just Two Movies. All right, cheers.
Hey, this is Chad from The Barn, and this video is brought to you by Reynolds Landscaping and Lawn Care. Contact Shane Reynolds at 573-516-2387 today for a free bid and to schedule your projects. No job is too big or too small. It's time to get those projects up and going for the spring and summer season. Retaining walls, paving stone patios and walkways, fire pits, mulch, rock, flower beds, install drains, and more. Contact Shane Reynolds at Reynolds Landscaping and Lawn Care at 573-516-2387 and to schedule your projects.
Hey guys, this is Nick, owner of the Bullpen Sports Grill in Ludington. Come visit us daily for lunch or dinner, or come get your party on the weekends with live music and our house DJ. Check out our Mechanical Bull. We're the place that has it all. Check us out on Facebook, like our page, and follow all of our events. That's the Bullpen Sports Grill in Ludington.
Welcome back to the barn, guys. This is a Rising Tide. I'm here with Chad. I'm here with Dan. It's Just Two Movies, and we're sitting here chilling. What's your guys' favorite movies within the last month? I'm gonna have to go Ferris. And it's my top 10, but I'm gonna have to go Ferris Bueller Day Off. It's just it's just such an easy movie, just quick and easy, but it just has such a great message, man. I feel like everyone in life should just watch that movie one time.
So you just watched that this past month, like the first time?
No, it's like my third time.
Oh, okay.
But just watching it again, it hits different,
Oh, that's an absolute classic.
Classic. It's just like you watch movies different from the first time you watch them. So that message in that movie is just one of my favorites right now.
Oh yeah, that's
just take everything easy in life,
In full transparency, you guys are way into the movies, and I'm like a quarter of what you guys do. But there are some things that I've watched recently that I'm really into, and that I think we might get into later. A little bit of preview there.
Okay.
What about you, Dan?
You know what? I had this discussion on Barrett Lewis's Barrett's podcast, ATI, and Josh and the other gentleman.
Oh, I know.
Ridge.
Yep.
Like his name is a landmass.
Yeah.
Ridge, that's what it is.
Landmass.
It is. That's how I had a really fun thing with them, and I had an opportunity to bring up this movie, and I will champion this movie to anybody. It's fantastic. It's the best sleeper I've seen since we started doing the podcast. It was a random rental, and I watched it, and I was just fucking blown away. It didn't even look like anything. It just looked like it's kind of like a slasher thing, but it's called Bloody Hell. And when we talked about it on that podcast the next day, I was like, man, I got to rewatch that.
That's when you know it's good, when there's that little...
It stands up, man. It is its own, like, do you remember the sensation you got the first time you ever watched Pulp Fiction and you were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? And that was something. Like, that's always the feeling I get.
Yeah.
Like, what did I just watch?
Precisely. And that's how this movie is. And it was planned to be a trilogy, but it dropped as at the exact same time as the pandemic. So it didn't get a box office release because theaters were closed.
Yeah.
And it just went straight to DVD, which is really unfortunate.
Where the hell are you getting a DVD from?
Well, straight to video.
Like a Redbox. Yeah, straight to video.
Oh, okay.
But you can rent it on Amazon. It is worth every red cent, and because you'll go back and do a purchase anyway.
Bloody hell. I'm going to have to dive into that.
Bloody Hell, is that it?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll link it in the description down below.
Oh,
Yep.
nice. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it, so I'll have to check that one out.
I'm with that.
I did listen to your episode, but I did listen to your episode on Don't Look Up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I need to
I
listen to that.
love that movie.
Yeah.
I love the sarcasm, the satire, the silliness. I loved everything. The message. I loved everything about that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best movies I've seen in a number of years.
Man, it's got great timing.
Yeah. It had
Great
perfect timing.
and great pacing. Like that joke when it's way, way down the road. And she's like, but he's a general. Why would he charge us for free snacks? You know, she just is obsessed with it the whole movie. That's a great running joke that just like can't wrap her head around it.
And Jonah Hill in that movie,
that movie.
I love that movie, and I did listen to that episode that you guys did on that one. I can't remember what the other one was. It was some kind of natural disaster flick or something. Something where
Geostorm?
I can't remember.
I think it was Geostorm.
Is that
with Jerry Butler. God, it's bad.
That's like a 08 movie, ain't it?
It's so bad. Like, there's not a lot of movies that while I'm watching it'll make me angry that I'm still like, why would you do this? Like, you had one job, to just a zillion other ways to do it that would have been easier, that would have paid off in any way. Yeah, hilariously bad. That Geostorm with Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
Yep.
I think I've seen that. What you guys were saying about that movie, Don't Look Up. It's one of the movies that, the cast is so heavy that you get done watching and you're like, man, that was kind of like, ugh. But then like you like start to think about it and you're like, I get the gist. I get the gist of it. And I thought it was good. I thought it was good after really thinking about it and watching it twice. Well, I had to watch it twice to really think it was a good movie.
But, Don't Look Up was on Netflix. But there's been something else here recently on Netflix, too, that I'm absolutely obsessed with, and that's Dahmer.
Dahmer hit.
How's that for a segue?
That's good. That's good,
Dahmer,
man.
Dahmer
That's
hit.
Mall Cop good.
We need that. We need that drop. That Netflix drop. That man, that Dahmer. I was dialed in. It was good.
What'd you think, Dan?
I liked it, man. I liked it a lot. I was immediately, first scene in, just blown away by the production value. Like, it looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, the way it looks makes your skin crawl a little bit, just like
It's
dark.
It's the posture, I think, or something. Boy, it is just creepy as hell, though.
Yeah, it is. And so you kind of mentioned, I think when we were off air, like your love for like true crime stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually wrote my senior thesis on serial killers called Motivations of Madmen, where you compare and contrast the different types of serial killers where, some are insanely, insane, but some are very messy in their work. They don't try to hide anything. They don't think anything through. It's just like a complete disaster.
Oh, yeah.
When there's like the opposite of that of like Ted Bundy, who's really meticulous about
BTK.
things. Yes.
Yeah.
So I did my whole senior thesis on that, and I've always been, because I have a psychology background, I've always been fascinated with the psychology of it.
Yeah.
I don't, obviously it's terrible, awful things, but just like I like to study and know about great things that us Americans and people in general have done, there's the darker side to our history too, and I think it's important to know about that.
Yeah. I see most of the pleasantries every day. It's easy to see the nice shit, sometimes. It's easy to see the nice things, but the darker things, not so much. So does that make them a little more interesting just because you don't know anything about it? But yeah, I was always fascinated with that stuff too. And Bundy, not Bundy, Dahmer in particular. At the time, it was the only person that I knew that cannibalized people, and I thought that was fucking crazy.
Yes.
And then I saw the picture of the guy, and I was like, just normal dude.
Yeah, guy you might see at Walmart or something.
Just a normal ass dude at Walmart picking up more slacks, probably.
Yeah.
He's not drooling and banging his head on the wall and screaming at the moon
Right.
and shit. You know what I mean? But he cannibalized people.
Right. Like, what went wrong?
Right. Yeah, precisely. And that's although he was an absolute animal, and I do not feel bad about him being beaten to death.
No.
That is kind of a waste.
I feel like that's why we're so dialed into things like that, because it's always the what went wrong, like it's always the what we don't know, and that's why we're so dialed in.
Yeah.
We kind of trying to put ourselves in it and around it, just like watching Dahmer, that episode 7 with the sign language, that just really hit me different, like as a young black man, just out here, especially in a world back then, not being able to speak and stuff, and just people taking advantage of things and stuff in the world nowadays. I feel like it's just really just putting yourself in things and stuff like that. So I think that's why we are dialed into things like that,
It was played by Rodney Burford, that guy, the deaf guy.
Yes, that was
Tony Hughes.
Yes, great role.
Yeah, that was a good performance, man.
That episode hit me hard.
The acting was incredible. The main
Yep.
guy is a famous actor that you guys...
Evan Peters.
Yes.
Evan Peters. But he always knows right why they called him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every time he walks up to the set, he just is like, I know what you're here for.
Yeah.
And he just gets out there and does it.
He does.
Evidently pretty easy to work with.
I remember the scene where it's him and his stepmom and his dad, and they're at the diner. And I feel like for the first time, he's like, there's something wrong with me. I feel like it was a cry for help.
Did you know the stepmom is Molly Ringwald?
Is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah, she did great.
I wouldn't have put that together.
Plays Sherry Dahmer.
So anyway, they're in the diner, and it's like his first time where he's like, I know that this is not normal. And the dad is so like wanting to put the blinders on because he knows that it's not normal too, but they just kind of start laughing and just blow it off.
Let's get you to college.
Yeah. But I love how the movie, or how the series, put it back on like mental health. Put it back on the prison system when Dahmer comes out of prison and his dad's there to pick him up, and his dad's like, hey, did you get some help? Did you get some people talking to you and give you things that I wasn't able to give you? And he's like, no, Dad, they mostly just left me alone. And then Dad just sees that like this is going to continue to happen and probably get worse.
Society.
But then all the cops showing up and being dismissive of it and being dismissive of people calling and saying, hey, we got something going on here. We got a bad smell. So I just feel like it really shined a light that society failed him and in return failed the victims and the victims' family because we just kept putting our eyes on it, and our systems are so broken.
Yeah.
And I love that the series shined a light on that.
No, yes, for sure. And I feel like if you did not get that away from I feel like you just really weren't watching.
And then like there's a black kid missing, right? So there's not this big investigation on let's find this kid. It's like, yeah, we'll kind of get to it when we want to because it's easy to be
Glenda Cleveland just fucking blowing them up, blowing up the PD.
and we know people like that too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Which Niecy Nash was great as Glenda Crawford in it. I looked up some like other differences just to see what was different about like what actually happened in the series. She actually lived across the street from him.
Oh, okay.
Could see his apartment window, and she would sleep with her window open. She would hear screaming and shit and all kinds of stuff coming from there. And
I think they kept it pretty damn close to
it is pretty fucking close. That like the only other thing I have is just a thing that I noticed. Dahmer doesn't wear his glasses to court. Like in the series, he does wear his glasses to court. Reality, he didn't. And I looked it up to see why
they didn't have him in his glasses.
He didn't have his glasses on, and it was because he didn't want them. He didn't want to look anybody in the eye.
Oh, okay. And I'd say that's a pretty minor detail considering.
Yeah, no shit. The rest of this is fucking on the money. And it's, boy, they really fucking grab you by the scruff and fucking put your face in the mud for those first 3 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, they come out hot, boy.
Yeah.
Somebody
Come out hot, boy.
me and DJ were talking about it, and one of our friends was asking about it. He hadn't seen it, and he's like, "Don't spoil it for me." And I'm like, well, the first episode spoils it for you because it sort of works backwards in a way.
Yeah.
Because the first episode is very clear. You know, I mean, that's where a lot happens. And if you haven't seen it, you got to go watch it. But a lot happens in the first episode, and then we kind of go from there. I will say it took me a few episodes in. For some reason, I kept watching it. Not that I hated it, but I didn't love it at first until I started catching some of those things like I'm talking about that really drew me to it, the society issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once I started picking up on them more, I was like, oh, man, this is done really well.
The episode that also hit deep was the episode that was named around his father. Parenting and like all that. I was just like, wow.
I feel for that guy, man.
Yeah, and it makes you feel that way. Mixed feelings where you're like, well, you're part of the problem, but then you care about your son and he's still your son.
Yeah.
If you walk away, I don't know if you guys did, but I walked away like feeling torn and confused. And
I think it was always, he always felt like that because I think it was always the fact of, you know, if you didn't get help, it was always going to turn to the fact of how it ended in the last episode. And, you know, any father, you know, I'm not a father, but, you know, you never want that for your kid, no matter how off the edge they are.
it's a good way to put it. No matter how much of a monster,
Yeah.
it's still your kid.
Yeah, it's yours. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be able to change that how in any power that you have. Then that last episode when they were arguing about, oh, let's give the brain to the college.
To science,
Yeah,
to study.
and they just wanted to put it away. And what that judge said was awesome. Like, he said that we should just never be able to deal with something like this again in the world. And
See, I think they should have had the brain.
you think they should have kept it?
Just for the interest of science and try to study it and make sure that try to figure out why and hopefully
Well, yeah. Where do you get the mindset of doing stuff like that?
and I think that's why we need science.
Yeah,
You know, that's why we need the studies of the brain.
disturbing
And-
part is it seems like it comes from different places for different people. You know what I mean? Like Dahmer, his was just that he wanted somebody to stay with him. That was it. That was his big driving, murdering factor. One of them. But take a guy like take Ed Gein, for instance. Also another cannibal. Ed Gein was just fucking into it. He was just like, nah, this is all me, baby. I love fucking eating people. I'm crazy as shit.
making lampshades and furniture out of skin and
Yeah, exactly.
chairs.
Totally different motivation.
Yeah.
For doing anything. So I don't know. It's quite an interesting topic,
Yeah.
and it's portrayed really well in this because it's supposed to leave you indecisive.
And it did me.
Yeah,
It did me where I just walked away from it feeling icky, but I respect the hell out of the piece of art that they did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The acting, the writing, the cinematography of it. And I'm not a movie buff like you guys are, but I feel like I can appreciate art when art's really good.
Yeah.
And I just walked away from that feeling like, man, that was done really well.
Yeah.
And whoever did it, you know, I want them to do Ted Bundy and John
Yeah.
Wayne Gacy and
Get the next
BTK.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say do some older ones, man. Like what's his name? Andrei Chikatilo, the Russian guy. He was impotent, couldn't get it up, and he'd like strangle women and try to rape them in the woods.
Damn.
Killed a lot of fucking people, like a lot. But that'd be a cool. Well, I shouldn't say cool. It's not cool. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see something like that. Whereas, you know, a bunch of them. That's why they're widely known names in true crime because there's tons of stuff about them.
Bro, I don't care. The next thing I watch right after that, because you watch stuff like that and your skin's crawling.
Futurama.
You're like, yeah, no.
Put on a little Futurama myself. That's my.
No, I went right to the Gacy. Because I didn't know. That was the first time of me really, as a kid, like, I'm 25. So, I always heard about, Dahmer. But, like, I never, like, I was in middle school and stuff. So I never, like, was on my phone and looking up Jeffrey Dahmer. So I was just so into that. So when it came out, this was kind of my first drawing to it. So I was like, damn, like, that was crazy. So I went to the Gacy. Man, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is nuts.
And it is.
That is skin crawling. Like how he was just a nice guy, face to the public. Like
He was a clown.
Yeah.
Like a birthday party clown.
yeah, had people at him like thousands, like hundreds of people at his house. Like
He needed that icing on the cake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? to,
that
to
is
be that much more sick.
dude. Yeah, that had my skin crawling.
Yeah,
That
you
guy
know, a
was
lot of those
scary.
serial killers, it's like repressed feelings and obviously like trauma in their background, but like even some like repressed homosexuality stuff where they don't want to come out, you know, like, and then obviously the power struggle, like, you know, I can't get it up or whatever. I can't come out as a gay man, so I'm going to do it secretly and have power over you. It's just, it's a whole like, you know, mind blowing kind of.
What was the guy that fucking sodomized severed heads? The co-ed killer. Did you guys watch Mindhunter?
Yes.
Everyone, all right, I'm
Love
about
Mindhunter?
to start it. Everyone, keeps
Real
telling me to
big
start it.
guy.
Oh,
Real big
yeah,
guy
yeah.
with the glasses. It's the that guy.
And that dude did a great acting job as well.
Oh, he's a dead fucking ringer.
Yes.
He's a dead ringer, man. He looks just like him. It's incredible.
The way he talks is like so soft, but he's this huge, massive guy.
Enormous.
The guy who played Manson was good on there too.
Oh yeah, man. They did a really good job with casting in that. Like
Yeah,
Manson and what?
Charles Manson was in that. He just
Dahmer?
Mindhunter.
No, in Mindhunter.
I haven't watched that.
Mindhunter. They featured. It's based on a true story, but they featured a couple different serial killers when they were doing like trying to figure out FBI profiles and some of the psychology
It's
stuff.
when the CIA was like, okay, fine, we'll make a serial killer special unit.
Because that was it too. They wanted to put the blinders on, like, oh, they're just crazy. Like it's just easy to kind of cast them aside and go, oh, they're just crazy. Well, we need to understand why, you know, if we can, because we need to try to stop this from happening again.
I haven't looked
so
at
for many years, it didn't happen until people were like, hey, there's a profile. A profile means white guy in his 30s that's maybe has some power struggles or some trauma, you know, where there are some identifying factors on trying to determine if somebody else is capable and able and willing and wanting to do this. But Mindhunter's great. Love Mindhunter.
I'm gonna go back to something on what you said with the Dahmer. I think the kind of why he really did kill black people is because, you know, people really weren't looking for black people at the time, and that's crazy to think about. Like at the end when they show all them bodies, dude, I think it was like 12 black guys. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, where it comes up on the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, people really weren't looking for him. Like, oh, it's, you know, it's just another one missing. But that's you know, it's,
You
it's
think
deep
he
to
was
think
that
about.
thought out of like, I'm going to target minorities because
100%.
because people won't look for him as much?
100%. That episode with the jogger, man, that was scary. That is fucking scary.
I don't know, man. I
Did
don't know why he would confess to all of that stuff and not be like, no, I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because when they asked him about it, he's like, that's the area I could afford to live in.
You mentioned on text, and I haven't seen it yet, that they just did some, Netflix just released the Dahmer tapes.
Yeah.
Have you got into that at all?
Yeah.
I need to get into it.
Went through it in preparation for this. I didn't know if we were going to bring it up or not, but pretty well made. If you've watched any of the tapes series, it's more of that. Information's good. It is interesting. It's a more, the timetable is a little more on point, I think, or at least the way they make it feel. I think it's because in the Netflix series Dahmer, the victims like kind of jump around. You know what I mean? And it's a chronological.
So it's like the Gacy one, like when he's like, I started here.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So it's more time framed and timelined, I
It's in
guess.
order, yeah, like how they started, like their
Correct.
first kill and where they started. Yeah, you're right.
It's got some of the original audio, and having watched Dahmer the Netflix series, boy, I bet it just makes you appreciate how Evan Peters went the extra mile.
That was what I was going to ask. Did you walk away from
it's not
appreciating the series even more?
It's not his voice, it's his tone and his mannerisms and his speech pattern. So his voice is different, but everything, it's just like somebody adjusted the audio for it, and it's the same person talking. Like it's really, really well done.
I'm going to have to watch that.
Cool. That's a shout. Yeah, it's a shout out for the people to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all the tapes. If you're like into that murder docs and stuff, you know, I've only watched one, but yeah, I feel like the docs, you know, the tapes are a good place to dive into.
Oh yeah, they are good. They're really well made.
Yes, they are.
Production value on them. They look and sound nice.
This is the Rising Tide podcast with Chad and DJ. We got a special guest, Danny King from It's Just Two Movies. Danny, do you want to send or do you want to shout out all your socials so we know where to find all your stuff?
Yeah. at It's Just Two Movies on all the social platforms. Obviously, you can find us on YouTube. We're also on
Spottle.
Spapple. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That's what I was trying to do.
Spapple.
Spotify and Apple. Spapple Podcasts. Nobody's trademarked that. Get it. That was free. And just anywhere you can get podcasts. If you don't subscribe to any of those things and you don't want to listen to ads, it's always free on our website. It's justtwomovies.com.
You know, because this is The Rising Tide and it's a podcast about podcasts, if you were thinking about getting into the podcast world and somebody that's done it for as long as you have and has some experience doing it, what advice would you give somebody?
It's if you think you want to make one and you just want to make one for funsies, fucking go for it, man. Absolutely take a crack at it. That is you knowing that it just, as soon as you're done doing it, you're done doing it. If you really, really want to make one and make one that lasts and make a good one, you have to know it's the long con. You just gotta keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. You'll get better at it. You'll find your fucking niche. You'll find your pattern, and you'll get everything you need out of it. You just keep plugging away.
I love podcasts.
What
I
about
love podcasting.
you've been podcasting a while too? What advice would you give, a young up and comer or somebody that's thinking about getting into the world?
Like Dan said, go for it, and for sure do your homework. Like the people you like, dive into more like why you like them and why you like listening to podcasts and stuff, because that's probably more the reason you want to do it. So do more of that, and know what you can and can't say, and know when the right time to say things are, and like Dan said, you'll get your timing and your niche and all that, but do it and do your homework, on things and topics, but your homework on what you want to do and the platforms you want to do and all that. So yeah, I would just say, just be professional in anything you want to do.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Dan said. Is they're not all gonna be bangers.
No,
You're gonna sometimes make it and be like, man, I'm not sure how that went. But I just think consistency is so important, and we try to do that here at the barn, and I know Danny does it as well. But just that consistency, because even if they're not all bangers, even if you just get a couple views or a couple listens, that's a couple more than you had before.
sure.
And I think everything that we try to do here is just trying to get us a little bit better at a time. I know it sounds cheesy and like Hallmarky, but I'm a believer in that the consistency is important, and put out those non-bangers. Put them out. Put them out and learn from them. Try to get a little bit better at it.
I would rather you put out, if I listen to a podcast and they're either not going to put out, they're going to put out a bad one, or they're not going to put one out at all, I would prefer they put one out.
For sure. 100%.
Because it's my show that I listen to, and I would like to listen to it even if it's not very good.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's part of my work routine, or whatever the deal is.
At least we try to be here as like that pesky fly. Like, oh, they put out, even if you don't like it, somebody probably listen, and there's a ton of people out there listening. They're just not into what we're into, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that pesky fly is just like, man, these guys won't go away. They just keep putting stuff out. That's sort of the goal with all this and what we do. And I know you're consistent as I see anybody else. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Very nice. Thank you for the applause.
Danny, it's been a pleasure hanging again, man. It's been a while since I've seen you. So
Yeah, likewise, man.
enjoyed it.
I like your place. It's fucking cool in here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We'll have to come see your spot sometime, and maybe I think you two need to.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not trying to book your guests for you, but
Hey,
that'd
man.
be.
I normally will book out like 2 to 3 months ahead of time, because I never really know if I'm going to take a day off, or if I'm just going to take a week off of doing it entirely. Some weeks I'll just be like, it'll be Tuesday. I don't have a guest booked. I'll be like, nah,
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, and I'm with you too. I like to, what do you call that, where you just record a whole bunch at one time, sort of backload stuff.
Yeah,
Where,
I like a healthy backlog.
and like right now, like if we stop this podcast and we did a different one that we do, once you get into that mode and your mind is kind of firing on those cylinders, I don't want to shut it off, because then, I feel like our best work is sometimes those nights where we're in here for 3 or 4 hours banging a lot out
Yeah.
and making podcasts. Danny, we appreciate you coming, man. It's Just Two Movies It's Just Two Movies on everywhere.
Yeah, you can just Google it.
You the man, brother.
No problem. Guys.
Animal.
Good night.